All right, get ready to dive into the world of luxury watches and jewelry. We're focusing on the import-export manager role today. And luckily, we have some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us out. Career guides, interview questions, the whole shebang.
It's a pretty high-stakes job, but the rewards can be amazing. We're talking serious earning potential, maybe even some international travel.
Sounds glamorous. But let's get real for a second. The RoleCatcher Career Guide paints a pretty intense picture of what this job actually involves. Think suppliers, customs regulations, maybe even managing teams across different continents.
Yeah, no kidding. Imagine yourself like a conductor, but instead of an orchestra, you're managing this intricate flow of luxury goods, making sure every piece arrives perfect and on time, with all the paperwork in order.
Definitely not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. The Career Guide says the top 3 skills they're looking for are customer service, administration, and personnel management. So people skills are a huge GE.
Absolutely. Think about it. You're the link between suppliers, customers, your internal teams. You got to know how to build relationships, smooth things over when there are bumps in the road.
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can really come in handy. They have this cool feature where you can practice your answers and get real-time feedback on how you're coming across. Like, their AI can analyze your tone, even your body language.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket, so you can project that confidence and expertise.
Love that. Okay, let's dive into some of those sample interview questions. RoleCatcher gives us 9 to work with, so let's tackle the first one. Tell me about your experience in the import-export industry. Sounds pretty basic, right?
It does, but don't let that fool you. They're not just looking for a list of your past jobs. This is your chance to show them you really understand this industry, especially when it comes to the world of high-end watches and jewelry.
So how do we make our answers stand out?
Instead of just rattling off job descriptions, focus on specific projects where you faced a challenge unique to this industry. Like, did you have to deal with CITES permits for exotic leather watch straps? Did you ever have to negotiate a tricky customs valuation for a super expensive piece?
Those details are way more memorable than just saying, I managed imports for 5 years.
Exactly. Paint them a picture. Now, imagine you've nailed that first response. What kind of follow-up question do you think they might ask?
Maybe they'll dig deeper into that CITES permit example. Something like, tell me more about the challenges you faced getting those permits. What specific steps did you take?
Perfect. They're looking for problem-solving skills, knowledge of the regulations, grace under pressure, all key qualities in this role.
So going into the interview, you should have a few of these challenge and resolution stories ready to go. And the cool thing is, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze the job description and suggest which skills to highlight in your answers.
Talk about a secret weapon. It's like having a cheat sheet for your career.
Okay, question number 2. How do you ensure compliance with customs regulations in different countries? Now we're getting down to business. This is where things can get pretty complex, especially with luxury goods.
Absolutely. It's not just knowing the codes, it's understanding the little details of each country's rules. For example, some countries are super strict about hallmarking precious metals, while others have totally different rules for importing gemstones.
So how do we show them we can handle that level of detail in our answer?
Focus on your proactive approach. Mention how you stay updated on regulations, industry publications, professional organizations, that kind of thing. Talk about the specialized software you use, your relationships with customs brokers, your super organized documentation practices.
About them, you're not just following the rules, you're anticipating them.
Exactly. Now, picture this. They ask, give me an example of a time you had to navigate a complex customs issue with a high-value watch shipment.
Okay. This is where having a specific story can make you shine. Maybe a time you had to scramble to provide extra documents proving where a rare gemstone came from, or maybe proving a watch wasn't a fake.
Those are the kind of stories that really stick with them. You're showcasing your experience, your problem-solving skills, your dedication to doing things by the book.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you tailor these stories to the specific company and role you're interviewing for. Their AI is pretty amazing. It analyzes the job description to pinpoint what they care about most.
It's like having a personal roadmap to interview success.
Okay, on to question 3. How do you handle a shipment delay or other unexpected issue during the import-export process? Because let's face it, in the world of international logistics, things don't always go as planned.
Right. This question is all about showing them you can handle those curveballs, that you're a problem solver who can think on their feet.
And in the luxury goods world, a delayed shipment of watches could mean missed deadlines, unhappy clients, potentially some serious damage to relationships.
Exactly. So how do we craft an answer that makes us stand out?
Hmm. Instead of just saying, I'd contact the supplier and figure out what's going on, maybe we should talk about the systems we have in place to prevent delays in the first place.
Now you're getting it. Maybe you double-check all the shipping documents like a hawk. Or you proactively track shipments using real-time tracking software.
Or maybe you've spent years building rock-solid relationships with your freight forwarders and customs brokers, so they give you a heads up if something looks fishy.
Those are all great examples. Now imagine they say, can you tell me about a time a shipment was delayed and you went above and beyond to fix things?
Time to bring out our crisis management skills. Maybe we expedited shipping, found a different route, or even personally talked to the client to keep them in the loop.
That's what they want to hear, turning a potential disaster into a story of resourcefulness and top-notch customer service.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these answers, get feedback on your delivery. It's like having a virtual mirror showing you how you come across, helping you project confidence and professionalism.
It's all about putting your best foot forward. Okay, question 4 coming up. Ready?
Bring it on.
How do you manage relationships with suppliers and customers? This one is all about diplomacy and building those all-important connections.
Especially in the luxury goods world, where those relationships are everything. You're not just buying and selling, you're building partnerships with artisans, designers, clients with really discerning tastes.
Exactly. So how do we highlight those relationship-building skills in our answer?
I think it's about showing you can communicate effectively, understand different perspectives, and find solutions that benefit everyone.
Absolutely. Talk about specific techniques you use, active listening, conflict resolution, your negotiation style. Maybe even mention a specific example of how you negotiated a win-win with a supplier, something that strengthened the relationship and led to better results for both sides.
Great idea. Now imagine they follow up with, tell me about a time you had to deal with a demanding customer in the luxury watch market.
Ooh, that's a tough one. But it's your chance to shine. Show them you can stay calm, understand the client's point of view, and find a solution that protects the company's reputation, but upon it be keeps the customer happy.
Maybe a situation where a client was upset about a delay or thought there was a flaw in a really expensive watch. And we used our knowledge of the product, our communication skills, maybe even a little charm, to turn that unhappy customer into a loyal one.
Now that's what I'm talking about. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice answers to these kinds of questions. Get feedback on how you sound, maybe even suggest different ways to phrase things so you sound even more confident and persuasive.
Like having a secret weapon in your interview arsenal.
All right, on to question 5. How do you stay current on industry trends and changes? This one is all about showing them you're committed to continuous learning.
Which is crucial in the luxury goods world, right? Trends change faster than you can blink, and there are always new technologies popping up.
You got it. The interviewer wants to see that you're not just knowledgeable today, but that you're dedicated to staying ahead of the curve tomorrow.
So how do we show them that in our answer?
Be specific. Mention the publications you read, like the Luxury Society or Watch Pro. Talk about industry events you attend, maybe Basel World or SIHH. You could even mention following influential bloggers or thought leaders in the watch and jewelry space.
It's about showing your genuine curiosity and that you're actively seeking out new information.
Exactly. Imagine they ask, can you tell me about a recent trend in the watch and jewelry industry that's caught your attention? How do you think it might impact the import-export landscape?
Time to show off our industry insights. We could talk about the rise of sustainable luxury, maybe the growing demand for vintage watches, or even the use of blockchain technology to track where gemstones come from.
Those are fantastic examples. The key is to show you're not just following trends, but thinking about how they might affect your role as an import-export manager.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you identify those trends and tailor your answers to the specific company and role you're interviewing for. Their AI is like a research team in your pocket.
It's all about working smarter, not harder. Ready for question 6?
Hit me with it.
All right, this one's about your organizational skills. How do you manage multiple projects and priorities at once? It's the classic juggling act of an import-export manager, right? Shipments, paperwork, suppliers, clients, always something going on.
No kidding. They want to see we can stay organized, prioritize, meet those deadlines, even when things get crazy.
Because in this role, you're constantly dealing with tight timelines, unexpected issues, and demands coming from every direction.
So how do we showcase our organizational superpowers in our answer?
Talk about your systems and tools. Maybe you love Gantt charts or Kanban boards or some fancy project management software. Whatever works for you.
Or maybe you have a super organized system for deciding which tasks are the most urgent, or you break down big projects into smaller steps.
Those are all great points. Now imagine they ask, can you tell me about a time you had to manage multiple deadlines at once and how you made sure everything was delivered on time?
Time to share a story about staying cool under pressure. Maybe a time when we had to deal with a shipment delay, A&D, a really demanding client, all while prepping for an audit.
And through careful planning, clear communication, and maybe a little creative problem solving, you managed to pull it off.
Exactly. It's about showing we can handle the heat and deliver the goods, literally.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice telling these stories in a way that's engaging and impactful. It's like having a storytelling coach who can help you turn your experiences into compelling narratives that showcase your skills.
Okay, ready for question number 7. I'm getting the hang of this.
What steps do you take to minimize the risk of shipment delays or other unexpected issues in the import-export process? This one is all about being proactive. It's not just about putting out fires, it's about preventing them in the first place.
I like that. So it's about anticipating those potential challenges and putting systems in place to avoid them, right?
Exactly. This is where your knowledge of the industry, your attention to detail, and your forward-thinking mindset come in handy.
So how do we showcase those qualities in our answer?
Talk about your due diligence process. Do you really vet your suppliers before you start working with them? Do you use real-time tracking to keep an eye on your shipments? Do you have a system for making sure all your documents are accurate?
Maybe we even have backup plans in case of common problems like weather delays or strikes at the port.
Those are great examples. It shows you're not just hoping for the best, you're actively working to minimize any disruptions.
Okay, imagine they say, tell me about a time you saw a potential problem coming and took steps to prevent it.
This is your chance to share a story that highlights your risk management skills. Maybe you spotted a potential customs issue with a shipment of watches and worked with the supplier to fix the documents before things got held up.
Or maybe you noticed a pattern of delays with a certain shipping route and decided to diversify your logistics network.
Those are perfect examples. You're demonstrating that you're not just reacting to problems, you're thinking ahead and taking proactive steps to keep things running smoothly.
And remember, RoleCatcher can actually help you brainstorm those potential risk scenarios and tailor your answers to the specific challenges of the company you're interviewing with. It's like having a crystal ball that helps you see problems before they even happen.
All right, on to question number 8. Ready for it?
Absolutely, hit me.
Here it is. How do you ensure quality control when importing watches and jewelry from overseas suppliers? Now, this is a big one, especially in the luxury goods world.
You're right. Quality control is everything. We can't afford to have a shipment of fake or low-quality goods come through. That could seriously damage a company's reputation.
Exactly. The interviewer wants to see that you understand the importance of maintaining those high standards, especially when you're dealing with such valuable items.
So how do we show them we're all about quality in our answer?
It's about showcasing your multi-layered approach to quality assurance. Start by talking about how you vet your suppliers. Do you do on-site audits? Do you require certain certifications? What about verifying the authenticity of the materials and craftsmanship?
Maybe we even work with independent labs to do testing and analysis on the materials.
Those are great examples. It shows that you're committed to quality at every step, from sourcing to inspection to delivery.
Now imagine they ask, tell me about a time you had to deal with a quality issue from a supplier and how you resolved it.
This is your chance to share a story that shows you're a problem solver and that you're dedicated to upholding those high standards. Maybe you found a flaw in a batch of watch movements, or there was a problem with the paperwork for a shipment of gemstones.
And we used our knowledge of the product, our communication skills, and maybe some negotiation tactics to work with the supplier and get things fixed quickly and efficiently.
Exactly. You're demonstrating that you can handle these challenges effectively, all while maintaining good relationships with your suppliers.
And RoleCatcher can help us prepare for these kinds of questions too, right? Their AI can figure out the specific quality control standards that are important to the company we're interviewing with.
It's like having an insider's guide to the company's expectations.
Okay, ready for our last question for this part of our deep dive?
Bring it on. This one focuses on a key part of the import-export manager's job. How do you ensure cost-effectiveness when importing and exporting goods?
Yes, the constant balancing act of keeping costs down while still maintaining quality and meeting those guidelines.
It's a tough one, especially in the luxury market where margins can be thin and the competition is fierce. They want to know that you understand the financial side of things and that you have strategies to optimize costs without cutting corners on quality or speed.
So how do we impress them with our cost-saving skills?
Talk about your experience negotiating good deals with suppliers and logistics providers. Maybe you've implemented things like consolidating shipments to save money or optimizing inventory levels to reduce storage costs.
Maybe we've explored alternative shipping routes to find the most cost-effective options.
All excellent examples. It shows that you're always looking for ways to streamline processes and be as efficient as possible.
Now, let's say they ask, can you give me an example of a time you found a way to save money in the import-export process? And how did it impact the company's bottom line?
Time to share a story that shows you can make a real impact. Maybe you renegotiated a contract with a supplier and saved a bunch of money on materials. Or maybe you implemented a new inventory management system that cut down on storage fees.
Those are great examples. The key is to show that you understand how your decisions impact the company's finances and that you have a proven track record of making those cost-saving moves.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help you identify those cost-saving opportunities and tailor your answers to the specific challenges faced by the company you're interviewing with.
It's like having a financial advisor who specializes in import-export.
Welcome back. I hope you're ready for more because we've got a lot more to cover.
I'm all ears. This is seriously helpful stuff.
Good to hear. And remember, confidence is key in these interviews.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of important stuff, the RoleCatcher Career Guide mentions Incoterms. They say it's really important to know those, especially for defining responsibilities and preventing misunderstandings.
You got it. Think of Incoterms like the secret language of international trade. They spell out exactly who's in charge of what transportation costs, insurance, customs clearance, you name it. Knowing your Incoterms inside and out is how you manage risk and keep those transactions running smoothly.
Wow, I'm starting to see why this role needs someone who's really detail-oriented.
Precision is key in this world. But don't worry, we'll give you the knowledge and strategies you need to handle it all.
Okay, good. Now back to those interview questions. What's next?
Let's look at question number 6. How do you stay informed about changes in import-export regulations? This one's all about showing them you're proactive and on top of things, especially when it comes to those ever-changing regulations.
Right, because the rules of the game are constantly changing in international trade. New tariffs, trade agreements, sanctions. It can be tough to keep up.
Exactly. The interviewer wants to see that you're not the kind of person who waits for things to change and then scrambles to catch up. Are you out there monitoring the landscape, anticipating those changes, and getting your company ready to adapt? That's what they want to know.
So how do we show them we're proactive in our answer?
Be specific. Tell them about the resources you use. Maybe you subscribe to newsletters like the International Trade Administration's Trade News or the World Customs Organization's WCO News.
Or maybe we're part of those professional organizations like FIATA or NCBFAA. They're always sending out updates on regulations of best practices, right?
Exactly. You can also talk about any online databases or software you use to track those regulations. The point is to show you're actively seeking out information, not just passively reading headlines.
I like that. So we're not just staying informed, we're staying ahead of the curve.
Now, picture this. They follow up with, can you give me an example of a time when you had to adapt to a major change in import-export regulations? How did you make it happen within your company?
Okay, this is where we show them we can adapt and translate those complicated regulations into action. Maybe we had to deal with a new trade agreement that changed the tariffs on certain products.
Or maybe you had to put new security procedures in place because of those ever-evolving regulations for high-value shipments.
And we used our knowledge, our communication skills, our project management experience, all of that to make sure the transition was smooth and there were no major hiccups for the business.
That's the kind of story that really shows them you can handle complex situations and roll with the punches.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze these types of answers and let you know if you're hitting those key points that interviewers are looking for.
It's like having a personal coach giving you feedback and helping you fine-tune your answers. All right, question number 7. How do you handle a situation where a shipment is held up in customs?
Oh man, this is a question that can make even the most experienced import-export managers sweat a little.
It's a high-pressure situation, no doubt about it. Especially when you're dealing with luxury goods. Time is money in this business, and any delay can have a big impact.
So how do we tackle this question in a way that shows we can handle the pressure and solve problems?
Start by acknowledging the seriousness of the situation. Customs delays are a big deal, and you need to show them that you get it.
Right, but then we need to quickly shift to our proactive approach, right?
Exactly. Talk about what you would do to figure out why there's a delay. Would you call your customs broker for more info? Would you double-check the shipment documents for any mistakes? Would you reach out to the authorities to find out what they need to release the goods?
Maybe we even have a checklist of common problems and a plan for tackling each one.
Those are great examples. It shows them you have a system in place for dealing with these kinds of issues. You're not just going to freak out and hope for the best.
Okay, imagine they follow up with, can you give me a specific example of a time when you successfully dealt with a customs delay?
This is your time to shine. Tell them a story that shows you can solve problems, negotiate, and navigate those tricky bureaucratic processes.
Maybe we had a shipment of high-end watches stuck in customs because of a missing document or a problem with the valuation.
And you use your knowledge of the regulations, your communication skills, and your persistence to work with the authorities and get that shipment moving again. ASAP.
It's about showing them we're proactive and resourceful, not just reactive.
Exactly. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your practice answers for these kinds of questions and give you feedback on your tone of voice and body language.
It's like having a virtual coach helping you project confidence and handle those tough situations like a pro.
All right, question number 8. Ready for this one? How do you manage relationships with suppliers in the watch and jewelry industry?
So this is where relationship building meets the complexities of those global supply chains.
You got it. In this industry, it's not just about buying products. It's about building real partnerships with artisans, designers, manufacturers, everyone involved in bringing those amazing watches and jewelry to market.
And those relationships are so important. A good supplier network can mean consistent quality, on-time deliveries, and even access to those exclusive products that everyone wants.
Absolutely. So how do you showcase those relationship-building skills in your answer?
I think it's about emphasizing that ability to build trust, communicate clearly, and understand the needs of your suppliers.
Exactly. Talk about specific things you do to nurture those relationships. Do you have regular meetings or calls to stay in touch and hear what's going on with them? Do you go to industry events together to build those connections?
Maybe we even visit our suppliers' factories and workshops, to get a better understanding of their work and the challenges they face.
Those are fantastic examples. You're not just a buyer, you're a strategic partner who values those long-term relationships. And remember, ethical sourcing is becoming more and more important in the luxury market. Customers want to know that the products they buy are made responsibly and sustainably.
You're right. It's definitely a good idea to highlight our commitment to ethical sourcing. That can really make us stand out.
Now imagine they follow up with, can you describe a challenging situation you had with a supplier and how you resolved it while still maintaining a positive relationship?
Okay, time for a story that shows we can negotiate, find those win-win solutions, and preserve those important partnerships even when things get tough.
Exactly. Maybe you had a supplier who was struggling to meet a deadline, or there was a disagreement about pricing or quality.
And we use our communication skills, our understanding of their perspective, and some creative problem solving to find a solution that worked for everyone and actually made the relationship even stronger.
That's what they want to hear. It's about showing you can handle those tough conversations with diplomacy and professionalism.
And RoleCatcher can help us practice telling those stories, right? Make sure we're clear and concise and engaging.
You got it. Their AI can analyze your pacing, your tone, even the content of your answers.
It's like having a personal speech coach. Okay, question number 9. What do we have?
This one dives into a critical part of the luxury goods world. How do you ensure quality control when importing watches and jewelry from overseas suppliers?
Oh yeah, quality control. That's where the stakes are super high. One shipment of fake or bad quality goods can ruin a company's reputation and cost them a ton of money.
Exactly. They want to be sure you understand how important it is to maintain those high standards, especially with valuable items like watches and jewelry.
Okay, so how do we show them we're all about quality in our answer?
It's about showcasing that multi-layered approach to quality assurance. Talk about how you choose your suppliers. Do you do on-site audits? Do you require certifications? Do you verify that the materials and craftsmanship are authentic?
Maybe we even work with independent labs to test and analyze the materials.
Perfect examples. It shows you're committed to quality every step of the way. And you could also talk about any experience you have implementing quality management systems like ISO 9001.
Oh, good idea. That shows we understand industry best practices.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention your knowledge of the specific quality standards for watches and jewelry, like hallmarking for precious metals or the Kimberley process for diamonds.
Now, imagine they follow up with, tell me about a time you had to deal with a quality issue from a supplier and how you resolved it.
This is our chance to tell a story that shows how we solve problems, communicate effectively, and maintain those high standards. Maybe we found a problem with a batch of watch movements or some paperwork issues with a shipment of gemstones. And you used your product knowledge, communication skills, and negotiation experience to work with the supplier and get it sorted out quickly and smoothly.
Exactly. It's about showing them we can handle these challenges while keeping those good relationships with our suppliers.
Right. It's a balancing act.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help us prepare for these types of questions too, right? By analyzing the role and figuring out what quality standards are most important to the company.
Absolutely. It's like having a personal research assistant, tailoring your answers to the interviewer's expectations.
Okay, last question for this part of our deep dive. What is it?
This one's all about the bottom line. How do you ensure cost effectiveness when importing and exporting goods?
The never-ending challenge of keeping costs down while maintaining quality and speed.
Especially in the luxury market where margins can be tight. They want to know that you understand the financial side of things and have strategies for optimizing costs without sacrificing quality or timeliness.
Okay, so how do we show them we're the cost-saving champion they've been looking for?
Talk about your experience negotiating good deals with suppliers and logistics providers. Have you implemented strategies like consolidating shipments to save money? Or maybe optimizing inventory levels to reduce those storage costs?
They could even talk about exploring different shipping routes to find the most cost-effective options.
Exactly. Show them that you're always looking for ways to make things more efficient.
Imagine they ask, can you give me an example of a time you found a way to save money in the import-export process? What was the impact on the company?
Perfect. This is your chance to quantify your impact with a story. Maybe you renegotiated a contract with a key supplier and saved a bunch of money on materials. Or you implemented a new inventory system that cut down on storage fees and waste.
Those are great examples. It's about showing them that we understand the financial side of things and that we've got a track record of implementing those cost-saving measures that benefit the company.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher can help you identify those cost-saving opportunities and tailor your answers to fit the specific challenges of the company you're interviewing with.
It's like having a financial advisor who specializes in import-export optimization. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the import-export manager role in watches and jewelry. We've covered a lot of ground, from those tough interview questions to showing off your expertise. I'm feeling pretty confident now.
That's great to hear. But we have a few more tips from the RoleCatcher Career Guide before you head into that interview.
Okay, I'm ready. What's the secret to really wowing them?
Well, the guide mentions passion. Seems simple, right? But they're not just looking for someone who can do the job. They want someone who's genuinely excited about luxury watches and jewelry.
That makes sense. If you're going to be spending all day in that world, a little enthusiasm goes a long way. But how do you show that in an interview?
It's more than just saying, I'm passionate. You have to weave that excitement into your answers. Maybe talk about a recent industry development that you found interesting, or tell a story about a watch or a piece of jewelry that really impressed you. Let your knowledge and genuine interest come through.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's not just what you know, it's how you talk about it. Speaking of how we talk, the career guide also mentions cultural awareness.
Very important. This job involves working with people from all over the world, so being sensitive to different customs and communication styles is really important.
Okay, let's say the interviewer throws a curveball and asks, tell me about a time you had to navigate a cultural difference with a supplier. How do we handle that?
That's where having a good story ready to go can really help. Think back to a time when you had a cultural misunderstanding, maybe with a supplier in, say, Switzerland or Italy. Did you have to change the way you communicated? Did you have to research their business etiquette?
And then walk them through the steps you took to bridge that gap and make things work. It shows you're not just aware of these differences, but you can actually deal with them.
Exactly. Remember, you don't have to be an expert on every culture. It's about showing respect, being willing to learn, and finding ways to connect.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful. It can analyze your practice answers for cultural sensitivity and even point out potential faux pas based on the specific regions you'll be working with.
It's like having a personal sensitivity coach in your pocket.
So we've covered passion, cultural awareness. What else does the career guide say is important?
They emphasize continuous learning. The import-export landscape is constantly changing. New technologies, new regulations, new trends. You got to keep up.
Especially in the luxury market. What's hot today might be old news tomorrow.
Right. So how do you show them you're not just keeping up, but actively learning new things?
It's about going beyond the basics. Don't just say you read industry news. Talk about a specific article that grabbed your attention, or a new technology you're researching, or maybe a seminar you're going to attend.
Exactly. And if you really want to impress them, mention something you're doing to help others learn. Maybe you mentor a junior colleague, or you contribute to an industry blog. That shows real commitment.
And I bet RoleCatcher can even suggest relevant learning resources based on the job description. Imagine saying, I'm taking this online course that you mentioned in your job posting. That would really stand out.
It shows you're going above and beyond.
So what's the final message for our listeners who are about to head into their import-export manager interviews?
Be prepared, be confident, and be yourself. Let your knowledge, your passion, your ability to handle all the challenges of this industry shine through.
And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help. Their AI-powered resources can help you nail those answers, refine your delivery, and ultimately land that dream job.
We've given you the tools and the insights. Now it's your turn.
Good luck out there.
And remember, no matter what happens, the knowledge you've gained from preparing for this interview is valuable. Keep learning, keep growing, and you'll reach your goals.